I want to get to that, managing that transition, but let me stay with this other idea about the coalition. It's clear, it seems to me, that there's going to be a close scrutiny of the relationship with Saudi Arabia. What dimension does that take?
There should be a close. Look, the truth of the matter is that we have known for a long time that the Saudis have been supporting and funding terrorist individuals and what we would consider terrorist individuals and organizations. And these schools, madrasas they call them, in other parts of the Islamic world that teach Wahhabi Sunni beliefs in the extreme that carry with it a real hatred of America. Not all Wahhabi Sunnis hate America, but... And we've basically rationalized it, Charlie, on two grounds. One, we need their oil. And two, you know, they kind of have to do this to stay in power. They have to sort of give, you know, pay off the folks so they sig them on somebody else instead of on themselves. I think we've run out of time, Charlie. The extent to which I believe you're going to see and learn that the Saudis, and nothing happens in the Saudi family that isn't the Saudi government, that the Saudis have supported Al-Qaeda and bin Laden and others.
Is it the government or just wealthy individuals?
There's no distinction in my view. It couldn't happen without the government, at least with a wink and a nod. And there, I think you'll see the evidence that the family members themselves have in fact supported it. But let's assume for the sake of discussion that it's been going on without their knowledge, which I find I'm incredulous. That's not possible. But let's assume for the sake of discussion. We have to now say, hey folks, new world. And let me tell you, you Saudi Arabia need us even more than we need you. We get 6, 8, 10% of oil from you. It would be a big deal if we didn't have it. But we do have alternatives. You have no alternatives. You have no alternatives.
Alternatives from what?
Alternatives for your continued survival. I can't fathom.
In other words, without America,
I can't
protection,
fathom.
what would happen?
I think within this decade, they're gone. As a family, they're gone as the rulers of Saudi Arabia.
But overturned by radical elements? Or?
I think so, and maybe even overturned by
Osama bin Laden's goal in the first place.
That was his goal. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you is this: that I think that this is a time for us to have what the diplomats, what Richard Holbrooke would say if he were here, a frank discussion. I think we should have a plain old frank discussion with them and say it's got to stop. This has to stop. You can't play both sides of the street anymore. September 11th changed the world. You got to stop. And it's going to be hard.
Why is it going to be hard?
Because I think they are so invested and are so convinced that their ability to survive is to placate the most radical elements in Islam, that they're going to conclude that we're making them make a choice about their own survival. I would argue, and I never tell another man his politics, I would argue that their survival rests upon not continuing to nurture these kinds of operations. There's a lot of things we're going to have to take a look at. The idea that we are not going to be promoting liberalization, not in the sense of liberal conservative here, but liberalization and the expansion of opportunity in the societies in the Islamic world, particularly in the Arab Islamic world, I think would be against our own naked self-interest and against the interest of the very people we think we're concerned about. But that's going to be a hard sell, Charlie. It's a hard sell. I mean, old habits die slowly. And so to answer your question in a word, yes, we're going to have to see some change.
And maybe others.
Oh yeah, no, it's not just, but that's the prime player.
What's the smart thing to do in terms, let's assume that this war goes on for a while because it has many aspects beyond what happens to Osama bin Laden and Taliban in Afghanistan, and it has to do with rolling up terrorist organizations around the world, and they exist in Germany and they exist in lots of other places, as we're finding out day by day. Let's assume that effort continues. What's the smart thing to do? What stance does America take post?
That is the big question. I'm about to tell you what I'm confident we should do, but I acknowledge This is a place where a good dose of humility is in order about whether we can do it. Okay.